Happy morning, students. I hope you all are safe at home. I invite you all for the social online class. Today we are going to see third unit in civics, state government. Students, this lesson consists of two parts, part 1 and part 2. In part 1, you will be learning about the governor, chief minister and the council of ministers. In part 2, you will be learning about state legislature and the judicial system in the state. Let us see the learning objectives of this lesson. That is what you will be learning in this lesson. To acquire knowledge about the structure of the state government, to understand the powers and functions of the governor, chief minister, other ministers and speaker, to know about the state legislature, to understand the functioning of the judicial system in the state. You will be learning about all these very detailed in this lesson. See, in the last chapter you learnt about the central government. So this chapter you will be learning about the state government. Let us go to the introduction part of the lesson. The Constitution of India envisages for a federal government having separate system of administration for the union and the states. I hope you all know what you mean by constitution. You have learnt in your first lesson. Once again, it is a set of rules that guides how a country or state or other political organization works. Our constitution came into effect from 26 January 1950. So our constitution tells that we can have a federal form of government. What do you mean by federal form of government? That is two separate governments, one at the center and other at the states. That is having separate system of administration for the union and the states. At present you have 28 states and 9 union territories and one national capital territory known as Delhi in India. So our constitution contains provisions for the governance of both the union as well as states separately. The structure of the state government as formed in the center consists of 3 branches. Listen, students, like the central government, the state government also consists of 3 branches: executive, legislature and the judiciary. Under executive comes governor, chief minister and council of minister. In legislature wing you have 2: legislative council upper house and legislative assembly lower house. Under judiciary comes high court, district courts and other courts. Listen, students, let us now go to the first branch, the executive. So under executive we will be learning about the functions and powers of governor, chief minister and the council of ministers. Let us now first see about the governor. The governor is the constitutional head of the state executive. Yes, he is the head of any state. There is a separate governor in each state. Each and every state will have a governor. If the situation warrants so, the same person may be appointed as a governor of 2 or more states. If a need arises and during the time of emergency, the governor of one state can act as a governor for 2 or more states. Article 154 vests the executive power of the state in the governor. The executive power of the state lies in the hands of the governor according to the Article 154. Let us now see the appointment, how these governors are appointed. The governor of a state shall be appointed by the president. Always the governor of any state will be appointed only by the President of India. His usual term of office is 5 years. That is, he will be in duty, he will be in office for the duration of 5 years, but he holds office during the pleasure of the President. Suppose if the President is willing to continue his power, he can be in duty till the will of the President. The governor does not belong to the state where he is appointed. That is, it is not necessary that one state governor should not be the citizen of that particular state. He can belong to any state in India. He can also be transferred from one state to another by the President. During his period of duty time, it is not necessary that for that full 5 years you should be the governor of that particular state. He can also be transferred if the need arises by the President. He can also resign any time by addressing his resignation to the President. Suppose if the governor is not willing to continue his duty for the full 5 years, he can very well give his resignation to the President and he can come out of his job. The legislature of a state or a high court has no role in the removal of a governor. The legislature of a state or a high court has no role in the removal of a governor. Every power lies only in the hands of the President. A person may be appointed as a governor for any number of terms. He can be appointed for a first 5 years. If the President is fully satisfied with his work, he can continue the governor for the next 5 years also. For any number of terms, one particular governor can be appointed as a governor for the same state or for some other states. 2 conventions have been set up in the matter of appointing a person as governor of a state. That is, 2 points should be keeping in mind. What is that? First point, he should not be a resident of the state concerned. The governor should not belong to his own state. Next, the state government concerned is consulted and its views are sought regarding the proposed choice. The state government concerned is consulted. Particular state government's opinion should be asked before selecting and appointing a person as a governor. Governor of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Banwarilal Purohit. See the picture. Who is she? Yes, the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Kiran Bedi. Qualification to become a governor. So, what are the qualifications needed to be a governor? First qualification, he should be a citizen of India. This is the first and foremost qualification to become a governor. That is, he should be a citizen. He should reside in India. He should be a citizen of India. He must have completed 35 years of age. His age should be of 35. He should not be a member of parliament or of any state legislature. He should not be a MP or MLA of any of the state. If he is a member of any of the legislature, that is, if he is a member of MLA or MP, he automatically vacates his seat on assuming the office as a governor. He should not hold any other profitable occupation. He should not have any other business or any other job. Even if he holds any business also or any occupation also, after becoming governor, it will be vacated automatically. Let us now see the various powers and functions of governor. The governor can exercise the following powers. They are executive power, legislative power, financial power, judicial power, discretion power, and emergency power. Let us now see the executive powers of the governor. First one, he appoints the leader of the majority party in the state legislative assembly as the chief minister of the state. That is, at the end of each election, the leader of the majority winning party in the state legislative assembly will be selected as the chief minister. His appointment will be done by the governor. Second one, he appoints other members of the council of ministers on the recommendation of the chief minister. The chief minister will select and identify the other ministers, and they will also be appointed by the governor. Third one, he appoints the chairman and members of the State Public Service Commission. What is this commission? Public Service Commission is a commission to which personal matters for all officers, excluding police, judicial, and legal officers, are referred. Next, he appoints the State Election Commissioner and determines his condition of service and tenure of office. Who is a State Election Commissioner? He is the one who is in charge of election in the state level. So he appoints this State Election Commissioner also and fixes his tenure of office, that is period of office, how long he should be in the power. Next, he acts as the Chancellor of universities in the state. He also appoints the Vice Chancellors of universities in the state. Yes, who is called as a Chancellor? Chancellor is a leader of a college or university. And last one, he directly rules the state when there is the imposition of the president's rule in the state. That is, suppose when the ruling government is cancelled due to various reasons, till the formation of the new government, president's rule will be imposed on the state and will be ruled by the governor. So these are all the executive powers of the governor. That is, he appoints the chief minister of the state, he appoints other council of ministers, he appoints chairman and members of Public Service Commission, he appoints State Election Commissioner, he acts as a Chancellor of universities, then last, he directly rules the state when there is the imposition of the president's rule in the state. The next power that is enjoyed by the governor is legislative powers. Let us see what are its power. The governor enjoys the following legislative powers and functions. Let us see his powers. He has the right to summon, prorogue the state legislature and dissolve the state legislative assembly. That is, he has a full right to summon, that is, organize, arrange or conduct. Then prorogue. Prorogue means cancel. Prorogue the state legislature. So he has a full right to organize and also cancel the state legislature. And if it is needed, he has every right to dissolve, completely cancel and put an end to the state legislative assembly. Second one, he can address the state legislature at the commencement of the first session after each general election and the first session of each year. Yes, the governor will not sit in the state legislative assembly, but he will address the state legislature twice in a year. That is, one at the first session of the each year, at the first meeting, he will be addressing the legislature. Next, as soon as the election is over and when the new government is formed, in the first session of the new government, the governor will address the state legislature. Did you understand this point? The governor will address the state legislature twice. One at the commencement of the first session after each general election is over, and next and at the first session of the each year. Next one, he can send messages to the houses of the state legislature relating to a bill pending in the legislature. If any bill is pending in any of the houses of the state legislature, then the governor send messages to that particular house. I hope you learnt in the previous chapter that if any bill is passed in the legislature, it should passes through both the house and then goes to the governor for final approval. Yes. Next, he can appoint any member of the legislative assembly to preside over its proceedings when the offices of both the speaker and the deputy speaker fall vacant. So when the vacancy is created in both the post of speaker and deputy speaker, both their posts are vacant, then the governor can appoint any member of the legislative assembly to preside over or to do the work of the speaker. He has every right to do that. Next, he can nominate one member to the state legislative assembly from the Anglo-Indian community. We all know that the members of the state legislative assembly are elected by the people through the process of election. But one person, one Anglo-Indian people can be nominated by the governor. Who is the Anglo-Indian community people? Yes, they were the mixed Indian and British, or they may be the British descendant born or living in India. He nominates 1/6 of the members of the state legislative council from amongst the person having special knowledge or practical experiences in literature, science, art, cooperative movement and social service. That is, the governor nominates 1/6 of the members of the state legislative council, that is upper house. Who are the members he has the power to appoint is the persons who are experts in the field of literature, science, art and social service. They need not be the politicians. It is enough that they are experts in the various fields like literature, science, art, cooperative movement and social service. Next, every bill passed by the state legislature will become law only after his signature. But when a bill is sent to the governor after it is passed by the legislature, he has the options to give his assent to the bill or withhold his assent to the bill or return the bill for the reconsideration of the legislature. That is, every bill, every law or every act passes through both the houses and then it will be sent to the governor for final approval. When it goes to the governor, that time the governor has the power to do three things. One, to give his assent if he is highly satisfied. If the bill passed is satisfied by the governor, then he will give his signature. If he is not satisfied, then he will withhold it. That means without signing, he will keep it. Third, if it is highly dissatisfied, what he will do is he will return the bill for the reconsideration. Did you understand this point, student? So every bill, every law passed by the state legislature will become law when only if it is signed by the governor. So first it will go to the lower house, signed by all the members. Then it will go to the upper house, signed by all the members. Then finally it will go to the approval of the governor. So that time the governor has three rights. That is, if he is highly satisfied, he will sign it. If he is not satisfied, he will withhold it. If he is fully dislike it, he will send back the bill once again to the legislature for reconsideration. Okay, next one. He can promulgate ordinances when the state legislature is not in session under Article 213, but these ordinances must be approved by the legislature within 6 months. He can also withdraw an ordinance at any time. What's the meaning of promulgate ordinances? Passing any new laws. That is, when the state legislature is not in session and if the state is under the control of the governor, then he has every right to pass a new act according to the article of 213. But this act should be approved by the legislature members within a period of 6 months. He can also withdraw an ordinance at any time. This right is being enjoyed by the governor. And the last one, he has to lay the annual reports of the State Finance Commission, the State Public Service Commission, and the Comptroller and Audit General relating to the accounts of the state before the state legislature. So it is a duty of the governor to lay the State Finance Commission, State Public Service Commission, and the Comptroller and Auditor General relating to the accounts of the state before the state legislature. So all this will be submitted by the governor in the state legislature. Yes, let us see the next power, financial powers. So what are the powers enjoyed by the governor in the field of finance? The annual budget and the supplementary budgets are introduced by the governor. What do you mean by budget? Yes, budget is a estimated income and expenditure of a government for one particular year is called as a budget. Even in your family, your father may put a budget with his total income that he is receiving. Certain amount he has to spend it and certain amount he has to save. Same thing, each and every central government and the state government will create a budget every year. So those budgets are prepared by the finance ministers and it will be introduced by the governor in the respective state and by the president in the center. Next one, money bills can be introduced in the legislative assembly only with this prior recommendation. What do you mean by money bills? It is concerned with all financial matters like taxation, public expenditure, etc. So anything can be introduced by the chief ministers and other members but it can be put into practice only after the assent of the governor. Next, he can make advances out of the state contingency fund to meet any unforeseen expenditure. What do you mean by state contingency fund? So in every budget, certain amount of money will be allotted and kept separately to meet the unforeseen expenditure at the time of emergency. So this amount can be fully used by the governor. Next, he constitutes a finance commission after every 5 years to review the financial positions of the panchayats and the municipalities. So he constitutes, he set up, he frames a commission called as a finance commission after every 5 years. What for? To review, to check back, to review the financial position of the each and every panchayats and the municipalities. So these are all the financial powers of the governor. That is, he introduces the budget, he introduces the money bill, then he can take advance from the contingency fund, then he constitutes a finance commission after each and every 5 years. The next power enjoyed by the governor is the judicial powers, that is dealing with judgment under high courts. So he appoints the Attorney General of the state, who is called as the Attorney General, the chief legal advisor of the state, will be appointed by the governor. Next, he makes appointment, postings and promotions of the district judges in consultation with the state high court. That is, he appoints the district judges, he put postings and promotion for the district judges after consulting with the state high court. Next, the chief justice of the high court in the state is appointed by the president in consultation with him. Who is called as the chief justice? The head of the judges is called as a chief justice. So he is appointed by the president only after consulting with the governor. Next, he can pardon, commute or reprieve punishment on receipt of appeals for mercy except death sentence. That is, he can pardon. Pardon means he can forgive. He can commute, that is reduce the punishment, or reprieve, fully cancel the punishment on receipt of appeals for mercy. If an appeal is gone to him, then he has the right to pardon, commute or reprieve the punishment except death sentence. If a death sentence is being issued by the High Court, the governor has no right to indulge in that death sentence. Next power of the governor is the discretionary powers. That is, the governor has every right to act on his own wish. This right is called as a discretionary power. Okay, that he will accordingly act on his own. So what is the first power he has got? The governor can reserve a bill for the consideration of the president. When it comes to his office for his assent, after passing in both the houses, if he is not satisfied, he will withhold the bill for the consideration of the president. Next, he can call the leader of any party to form ministry in the state when there is no clear-cut majority to any party in the legislative assembly after the general election. I hope you all know what I mean by election. It will be conducted once in 5 years. Many parties will be contesting in the election, and whichever party is getting the majority seats will be ruling the state, and the leader of that particular majority party will be selected as the chief minister. Suppose in any of the election, in any of the party is not getting any majority, then at that situation the governor has every right to call the leader of any party to form ministry in the state. This right was given to the governor. Third, he can dismiss the council of ministers when it is unable to prove the confidence of the legislative assembly. That is, he can every right to dismiss the council of ministers along with the chief minister if they were unable to prove the confidence of the legislative assembly. Suppose nowadays none of the parties forming the majority, they are forming a coalition government, that is joining with the other party and forming a government. At one situation, if any conflicts arises between these two parties and the other party moves out from the ruling party, then this ruling party will not have the majority seats. At that time, the governor has every right to dismiss the entire ministry. His next power is the emergency power. Only the governor and the president can enjoy this power. Yes, what is that? If the governor is satisfied that the government of the state is not carried on in accordance with the provisions of the constitution, he may, under Article 356, recommend to the president to impose president rule in that state. As soon as the president rule is imposed, the administration of the state is carried on by the governor as the representative of the president. Listen, student, if the governor is satisfied that the government of the state is not carried on in accordance with the provisions of the constitution, if the governor feels that the ruling party is not ruling the government properly following all the constitution rules, then what he do is, he may, according to the article of 356, immediately recommend to the president, that is inform to the president, request to the president to impose, that is to bring in president rule in that state. That is, no longer that particular state will be ruled by the ministers. Instead, it will be controlled by the president and the governor. So that rule is called as the president rule. So as soon as the president rule is imposed, what will happen? The administration of the state is carried on by the governor as the representative of the president. On behalf of the president, the governor will take in charge of the state, and the ministers and chief ministers will not take care of the state. This rule is called as the president's rule. Understood? In short, we can say, if the governor feels that ruling party is not ruling properly, he immediately informed to the president to impose the president rule, and then onwards the state will come under the control of the governor. Privileges of the governor. Privileges. Extra power that has been enjoyed by the governor. What is it? So this power has been given according to the constitution of Article 361(1). Provides for the following privileges for the governor. The governor of a state is not be answerable to any court for the exercise and performance of the powers and duties of his office, or for any act done or purporting to be done by him in the exercise and performance of these powers and duties. So no court can ask a question to the governor whether he is doing all his duties well. Next, no process for the arrest or imprisonment of the governor of a state shall issue from any court during his term of office. The governor need not be arrested, cannot be arrested or imprisoned by any of the court during his term of office as a governor. So the two privileges is nobody can ask a question to the governor regarding his duties. Second, he cannot be arrested by any of the court during his term of office. X. We have finished seeing about the governor. Next we are going to see about the chief minister. Who is the chief minister? How is he appointed? How is being selected? What are his functions? What are his duties? Everything we are going to see. So, in the scheme of parliamentary system of government provided by the constitution, the governor is the nominal executive authority and the chief minister is the real executive authority. So our system of government is a parliamentary system of government. So our constitution provides that two persons are ruling the state. One is governor, another one is a chief minister. Governor is a nominal executive authority. That is, he will be nominating and looking after what is going on in the state. And the chief minister is the real executive authority. The chief minister is the one who is really ruling the state. Yes, the governor is the head of the state while the chief minister is the head of the government. Both are heads, but governor is the head of the state, that is nominated, while the chief minister is the head of the government, that is he will execute it. Yes, see the image. Who is he? The chief minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Edappadi K. Palaniswamy. And next, the chief minister of Pondicherry, Mr. V. Narayanaswamy. See, here is a list of all the 30 chief ministers of India. Yes, let us now see the appointment of the chief minister. How the chief minister is being appointed. The chief minister is appointed by the governor of the state. Yes, each and every state's chief ministers are appointed by the governor of that particular state. The term of the chief minister is not fixed. The term, how long they will be in power, is not fixed. Actually, their ruling period is 5 years, but if any unforeseen situation arises in between, then they have to dissolve their ministry. So only they are telling that the chief minister's term of office is not fixed. He may remain as a chief minister as long as he enjoys the support of the majority of the members of the legislative assembly. Yes, the chief minister can be act as a chief minister as long as he gets the support of the majority of the members of the legislative assembly. If any of the members come forward to withdraw their support, then the chief minister cannot be in his power. Next, he has to resign when he loses confidence of the majority in the assembly. Yes, the majority party leader only will be acting as a chief minister. Suppose he loses his majority in between, then he has to resign from the post. Normally he completes 5 years term like other members in the legislative assembly. Yes, his period is normally for 5 years. He can be in a post as chief minister for a period of 5 years. Next we are going to see the topic powers and functions of chief ministers. Yes, first power relating to the council of ministers. Relating to the Council of Ministers, what are the power exercised by the Chief Minister? The Chief Minister recommends the person who can be appointed as ministers by governor. As soon as becoming the Chief Minister, the first duty what he will do is he will select his other ministers and make those ministers to be appointed by the governor. He allocates the portfolio among the ministers. What do you mean by portfolio? The different departments. Which minister is going to take care of which department? Example, transport department, education department, such and such like that. Okay. Third, he shuffles and reshuffles his ministry. He has every right to shuffles, that is keep on changing the ministry from one department to the other department. He presides over the meetings of the Council of Ministers and influences its decision. When meeting takes place among the Council of Ministers, he is the one who will preside. That is under his control. The entire meeting will be taking place and influence his decision. He will tell his decision that is to be followed by the other ministers. He guides, directs, controls and coordinates the activities of all the ministers. All the ministers are under his control. Even though they are the ministers of different departments, the Chief Minister is the whole sole responsible for all the departments. So always he will guide, direct them, that is help them, keep in control them and coordinate with them all the activities of all the ministers. Yes. Let us now see the power and functions of the Chief Minister relating to the governor. So, Chief Minister advises the governor to appoint certain officials. Who are those officials? Advocate General of the State, State Election Commissioner, Chairman and members of the State Public Service Commission, Chairman and members of the State Planning Commission, Chairman and members of the State Finance Commission. All these officials are being selected by the Chief Minister and are being appointed by the governor on the advices of the Chief Minister. Yes. Next is power of Chief Minister relating to state legislature. The Chief Minister advises the governor with regard to the summoning, that is organizing, and proroguing, that is cancelling the sessions of the, that is meeting of the state legislature. He announces the government policies on the floor of the house, that is in the lower house, legislative assembly. He announces the government policies. He can introduce the bills in the legislative assembly. Any money bills like tax, expenditure, everything can be introduced by the CM in the legislative assembly. He can recommend for the dissolution of the, that is cancel of the legislative assembly to the governor at any time. These are all the powers enjoyed by this Chief Minister relating to the state legislature. Yes, next important topic, Council of Ministers. How are they selected? Who is appointing them? What are their functions and duties? Let us see now. The Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the state legislatures. So this group of ministers are together collectively responsible, have their responsible, collective responsible will be there to the state legislature. All the members of the Council of Ministers must be the members of the state legislature. That is, all the ministers should be the member of state legislature, that is, they should be a MLAs. Only the MLAs can become the ministers. Those who are not the members at the time of their appointment must secure their seats in the legislature within a period of 6 months. So anybody can be appointed as a minister even if they are not an MLA, provided within a period of 6 months they should be selected as an MLA by standing in any one of the constituency in the state. If a no confidence motion is passed by the Legislative Assembly, the state ministry shall resign. If the majority is lost by the ruling party, then the entire ministry resigns, that is, all the ministers, including the chief minister, should resign. According to the article 163(1), there shall be a council of ministers. There can be a group of ministers with the chief minister as the head. With the chief minister at the head, what for? To aid, to support and advise the governor in the exercise of his functions, that is, to do his functions. Let us see the other provisions relating to the ministers. Article 164(1) holds that the chief minister shall be appointed by the governor. Not only the chief minister, and other ministers are also appointed by the governor. Next, Article 164(1)(a) states that the total number of ministers, including the chief minister, in the council of ministers in a state shall not exceed 15% of the total number of members of the Legislative Assembly. The total number of ministers in a particular state should be only 15% of the total members of the Legislative Assembly. Yes. Next we are going to see the functions and powers of the Council of Ministers. What this Council of Ministers? Together functioning. It formulates and decides the policies of the state and implements them effectively. All the policies for the states are decided by this Council of Ministers and are being implemented very effectively. It decides the legislative programs of the Legislative Assembly and sponsors all important bills. All the legislative programs will be decided in the Legislative Assembly by this Council of Ministers. It controls the financial policy and decides the tax structure for the public welfare of the state. Keeping in mind the financial situation, the Council of Ministers decides the tax structure whether to increase or decrease for the public welfare of the state. It makes the important appointments of the heads of departments. They make appointment with all the important heads of other departments. It discusses and takes efforts on the dispute with other states. If any disputes or fight or misunderstanding arose with other states, then this Council of Ministers sit and discusses and take efforts. It frames the proposal for incurring expenditure out of state reserves. Out of the total income received, they sit and discuss for the proposal for incurring the expenditure, that is for spending for the welfare of the people. It decides all the bill, whether ordinary bill or money bills, to be introduced in the Legislative Assembly. All the bills that has to be introduced will be decided only in the Legislative Assembly by these Council of Ministers. Each minister of the Council of Ministers supervises, controls and coordinates their own department concerned. Each and every ministers have the whole sole responsibility of their own department. They supervise, controls and coordinate with their own departments concerned. Annual financial statement, called as the budget, is finalized by the Council of Ministers. These are all the functions and powers of the Council of Ministers. Students, so far we have seen about the governor and the chief minister. what are their powers, what are their functions, how are they appointed, etc. Lesson is not yet over, students. It will be continued in part 2.